this is Grim Perspectives, I'm Grim. If you're new to the channel, that's cool, because I'm new here as well. This is my first video, and in my first video I'd like to talk to you about something I'm building right now, and that is a pen and paper system set in the world of Diablo. And that means, well, we'll have to find a pen and paper system we like and fit it to the world of the Diablo franchise. And spoiler alert, we're gonna use the Savage Worlds setting, but if you don't know the Savage Worlds pen and paper rules, that's no problem, because in the following videos we'll talk about it extensively and learn step by step how it works while we're building the world. So, today I'd like to not do that. I'd like to take the time to talk about the Diablo franchise. What is really cool about it, what translates well to pen and paper, and the parts I don't really like about the franchise and the part that don't translate well to pen and paper. Let's talk about the Diablo franchise. I don't know if you're old enough to remember Diablo 1, but Diablo 1 started. You were in Tristram. You entered the church Tristram. The music was playing, and you went down there, and maybe you didn't notice it right away, but at the very latest when you met the butcher and you heard the sounds, "Oh, fresh meat." And, well, if you hadn't leveled up properly and didn't have the right recruitment, he really was gonna butcher you. The game wasn't easy, the game was dark, and you always had the feeling that hell is out to get you. Then around came Diablo 2, and in Diablo 2 you start your game near Tristram again, and you, something wasn't right there, you investigated, and it turns out Andariel was behind it. You beat up Andariel, who, by the way, is one of the lesser evils. She's, well, not Diablo herself, whatever, but that a pretty big demon. And then you, came into another part, and you started to confront and to kill the lesser evils, and then Mephisto and Diablo, and in the expansion, Baal, for good measure. And yeah, you, along that journey, it took you from Tristram to other parts of the world. It even took you down to hell. Yeah. Think about that for a second. But you managed to kill the lesser evils, you managed to kill the greater evils, and all was well, and everyone lived happily ever after, right? Well, not quite. Along came Diablo 3, and, well, Diablo 3, I liked it, I played it a lot, I liked the gameplay, but essentially the gameplay of Diablo 3 is: how many seconds does it take you to kill everything on a map? It is no longer about there's something so tough that it might beat you. You, since you are no longer a mere mortal, you are a Nephilim. Cool background, but you are essentially someone who is stronger than the lesser evils and the greater evils. And even if the Lord of Lies tries to fool you, you immediately see through it. And even if the Lord of Sin confronts you, you just kill him in like a minute tops. No sweat. You even take out the Angel of Death for good measure. Yeah. Did you notice that there was kinda like a pattern in all this? The player got ever more powerful, and if the player gets ever more powerful, then it's really hard to make a mood in which you essentially want to make the player feel small and make him feel vulnerable. Want to make his obstacles big so that he has that sense of achievement when he overcomes them. That's really hard to do when you're at the power level of a god killing the greater evils in a few minutes. 3. What made me think that Diablo and the Diablo franchise was worth my time and worth putting in all the effort to build a pen and paper campaign around it? What drew me to it in the first place? Well, Diablo, especially the earlier part of the franchise, started with a strong theme of gothic horror. And by that I mean that you started and you went into the Tristram Cathedral and you started to realize that there's something dark in the depth of it, and it's something powerful. And you didn't know what it was, what it could do to you if you would survive it, but somebody had to do something, so you did. Along the way, you stumbled across parts of lore from books and scripts and what have you, which told the story of people who got corrupted by the lesser and greater evils. They started out as pretty good persons, and then they got influenced by devils and demons, and they started to fall further and further into corruption and became pretty bad. And that's a theme that they kept through the whole franchise, by the way. Not everything's bad about Diablo 3. There aren't only those who fell, there are also those who did not. Those who kept up the fight against evil. But a few of those had their own fall themselves. They became ever more powerful, ever more determined to fight evil, and it made them become evil as well. Maybe a good example of that might be Diablo 3. Oh, I mentioned something good about Diablo 3 again. The Angel of Death, who thought it would be a good idea, since humans are essentially half demons. Well, let's kill all of them as well. Pretty fucked up if you think about it. And you became drawn across the franchise into this conflict, and it doesn't really end. You are not the solution to this eternal conflict between heaven and hell. You're just a piece in the whole scape of things. That's something they again lost when they did Diablo 3. You are now the most powerful weapon against lesser and greater evils, and even take on the parts of heaven you don't like. Wow. Yeah. Enough said about that. Some things that I don't consider central themes of Diablo, but rather gameplay features. Keep in mind that I'm not trying to criticize the games as PC games, but I'm rather talking about which parts are useful to take over when building a pen and paper campaign around them. So, central gameplay feature of the Diablo franchise is the power fantasy that is going on, especially in the later parts of the franchise. It keeps drawing you in because you grow ever more powerful, and that's cool for a PC game because you want that long time motivation, and that motivation is in the PC games is that you grow more powerful and want you to see your character become ever more powerful. One of the ways you do that is you find magical, rare and unique items, and there's quite a loot fest going on. It's not like, oh, has your adventurer found a magical item that might help him against the demons? No, it's like, oh yeah, I found those 30 magical items, but they are crap, and I found those 5 rare items, but none of them have good attributes, they're crap as well, and I didn't find the one unique I was looking for, so, well, the haul wasn't that good. Yeah, and all this loot is important for the PC games because it keeps giving you micro achievements. It keeps giving you small things that you have achieved in the time you've played it, which keeps drawing you in, which is a core feature of the Diablo game mechanics. It has its place there. And a third part of the gameplay features of Diablo is hack and slash. Don't know why I didn't lead with that, because that's essentially what you know Diablo for. It essentially set the stage for hack and slash games. Diablo was the first action RPG hack and slash game. So, what do I mean by hack and slash? You all know it, but, well, there are a lot of enemies, and with visceral gore and gratuitous violence, you slaughter your way across the map and kill everything that stands in your path. And then you hit those more difficult boss fights and everything, but for the most part, lots of enemies, a lot of blood and gore, and yeah, good time while you kill those enemies. Yeah, those gameplay features sometimes don't really mesh well with a pen and paper game. I've got some problems with them when I'm trying to build a pen and paper world. For example, magic items in the Diablo franchise are essentially power without cost. You find an item, and you find many of them, and you grow more powerful. And if your main themes are gothic horror and corruption and hubris, then you shouldn't have a way to become ever more powerful without sacrificing something for it. Power should be rare, because otherwise you don't have the gothic horror aspect. Power without cost should be even rarer, because it undermines the hubris and the corruption aspect of the game that I'd like to see in the pen and paper. The hack and slash and the power fantasy aspects, meanwhile, well, you probably have guessed so far that I'm not a big fan of the hack and slash and power fantasy aspects when you're talking about the gothic horror aspect. If you want to make the opposition big and terrifying, then power fantasy is not really, or at least in the beginning of the campaign, is not really a theme or a feature you want to feature heavily. But hack and slash has another problem when you're talking about a pen and paper game, and that is that pen and paper combat takes really fucking long when compared to PC games. When you click on a monster in the PC game, you walk over, you hit it, and it's dead. The same thing in a pen and paper game would take at least 5 minutes. That's not a big flaw of pen and paper games. They take that long. It's important that they take their time doing it. But that means having a map where you kill 1,000 monsters will take you, well, 10 days of gaming, maybe something like that. It's not really fitting for a pen and paper game. Let's up and decide on which themes we're gonna use for a pen and paper campaign. We are gonna build a gritty, dark fantasy campaign. We're gonna use the gothic horror aspect that Diablo franchise gives us, and we're gonna add the opportunities for dark character development along the lines of corruption, hubris, and we're gonna add the blood and gore that everyone likes and was represented in the hack and slash aspect of the PC games. But since those don't translate well to pen and paper gaming, we're gonna keep it brief. So not thousands of monsters, but make the images you conjure up in the minds of your players, make them vivid. We're gonna build a world and a campaign in which power is rare, and power has its price. You might be exceptionally strong and competent human, but you're still only a human. And if you find something that makes you much more powerful, it will most likely come with a price. And we're gonna keep in mind that this is an eternal conflict, and that man's place within it isn't the underdog that comes in and beats everybody up, but it's rather that it's a conflict between angels and demons, and man is drawn into the middle of all of that, and you're gonna have to make your way in this world, and that's gonna be pretty hard and pretty damn devastating for the characters. And they're gonna do their best, they will struggle, they may achieve some things, but it will be hard and painful for them. What's next? Well, we talked about the themes we're gonna use in our upcoming pen and paper campaign. And, well, next thing is I'll show you the ropes. We're gonna talk about how characters, character generation, and the rules in action actually work, because only then we can talk about which of those rules we need to adapt to fit our upcoming campaign. And I'm really, really looking forward to doing this with you. And if you're looking forward to this as well, you better subscribe, because there are more videos like this coming up. And, well, I really, really would like to see us create something beautiful together. So, see you around.